Hello my crafty friends, Corrine here from Corrine Crafts. I hope you are well. Well, whatever you have been doing craft wise, I hope you have been enjoying it because I have been having such a lovely time. I decided to do some colouring and I lost myself in my alcohol pens for about an hour and a bit to colour this. Doesn't that look beautiful? I love how I've left the white to make it look like the petals are curling to get some shape. Now I could have stamped this straight onto the card, but we've done it as a free standing item so that we can really add dimension and depth, but also so I can break those borders. I'm going to give you lots of hints and tips about the colouring. It's red, but we're going to use a pink pen quite a lot to add that sort of faded look and to, to help with that white look. But I'm going to show you now how I made it and I hope you find it helpful. I was tidying through all of my craft stuff the other day and I was looking for something completely different and came across my rose bouquet. It's a stamp and die. And I thought, oh, I haven't used this for the longest time. It's from the Vintage Rose from Crafter's Companion. And I thought, oh, I really want to do a project with this. I fancied having a go at some colouring, and you know what, I did most of the colouring for this last night, but it got too late to record the video, so I'm recording it now obviously. But I really just was in the mood for some colouring, so this is where this inspiration came from. I have these dies. This is a double pack of dies and they're from Stamps by Me. Oh my goodness me, I've had them years and years, but they're like a postcard with a stitched edge, and what I love about it is the stitched edge is irregular. Now they do mark my white card with the red coating really badly, so to cut this, what I did was I put a piece of vellum over the top of the card and then cut through the vellum into the card, so you can see the red has gone into the vellum, and I can use the center of that vellum for something completely different. If I put it there, you can see the red showing up really well. So that's a top tip. If you've got a die that leaves a coloured mark on there, then use some vellum or something. So all I've done then is I've just stamped my happy birthday onto there, or whatever sentiment you want. Now this masking tape has been used before, but it'll still work perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this on here. Now if you look, there is a mark all the way around where the aperture is, and I'm going to just stick this tape on up to that aperture, so we can stick it on just like that. I'm not going to press overly hard. Turn it around. Like I say, it's pre-used, but it's absolutely perfectly good. It is the Altenew masking silk, I think, or satin or something like that. I always forget what it's called, but it's one that I found that really doesn't mark your cards too much when you're taking it off. Obviously it depends on the fibre content and the quality of your cardstock, but you'll see I'm not pressing it down too firm. And all I'm doing this is because I want to do some inking, so I want to give myself a really nice crisp white border. Look at this, it's all got scribbled up because I've used it before, but we can still unravel it and we can use it. There we go. And then we can put that one, where's my line there? There we go, just put that on there. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it down nice and flat with that. And you've probably already seen I had two ink pads at the side of me. So I've just got two different reds. So I have a plastic sheet, which I've just cleaned up, which is quite useful to have. There we go, and I'm going to pop my two inks onto there. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be colouring with my dark red blend. So my Chinese red is too orange, but my plum jam was a bit too dark. So we're going to make our own colour up, and I do this all the time. So put some plum jam down there, and then I'm going to put some Chinese red just there. And then all I'm going to do, see that's not attached to that, is I'm going to blend the two together to begin with, just like that. And then I'm going to take it onto here. So I'm going to start on the masking tape and then I'm going to blend into there. And that means I'm less likely to get swirls. I've got a little bit of a swirl there, but yeah. Now this is just regular stamping card. I haven't gone for a specific card as yet. We're going to use alcohol marker card for when we do the stamping, but just for this bit we're absolutely fine just with a regular inking stamping card, you know, multi-purpose card. So all I'm doing is I'm going down the edge. I'm sort of doing that L shape, and that's my darkest bit. My darkest is definitely going to be at the bottom. I'm going to put a bit more red into that. Let's start picking up a bit of the red, and you'll see what I'm going to, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up to there. So if I've took that, so all I'm going to do now is just ink across there, and I'm going to blend it out. So I want the colour to blend as minimal as possible. Now, I would spend quite a bit more time probably doing that than I am going to today, but we're just going to basically just nice and dark at the bottom. There, nice and dark at the bottom. Get the ink off the bristles, and then blend it out to virtually nothing. And then the same on this side. I'm right-handed, so I just find it's easy to be able to twist. I don't want a harsh line. Just blending it out. Go over it a little bit so that we don't have total white, but it'll just blend out. And sometimes you think, oh, it's not laid down a lot of colour, but it's not until you actually take off the masking tape that you can see. If you need to pick up a bit more, if I want it to be, you know, have a few more red tones, just pick up a little bit more of the red ink. If I need a bit more of the burgundy, we pick up that. So I'm just going to go around there just to get it, make sure it's soft. There we are. Right, I'm going to leave it at that. I might have done it a bit longer if I'd had a chance, but for now that'll do perfectly. Let's move that out of the way. And then it's about taking this tape off. And again, this tape can be used again if we take it off carefully. So you see, I always take it off at an angle. That's from a previous project, and it just can then sit on my desk ready for next time. Take it at an angle. There we go. And this one, I love that white solid line. Look at that crisp line. Isn't that amazing? Looks so good. And you couldn't get that without masking tape. There we are. And that is what I'm going to have topper on to. Now, what you could do, if I've got my stamp, if you wanted to, you can stamp on to here if you want. I'm not going to in this instance, but I'm going to mount that onto some cards. So I have got myself a card base. Let's move that out of the way. There's my card base. It started off as an 8x8 card, and it's been trimmed down. I did note how big it was. It's 5 3/4 by 7 1/4. 5 3/4 inches that way, 7 1/4 that way. And then onto there, I'm going to put just some black. Again, you can take out the centre if you want, and a layer of white. So we can pop those on. I'm just going to use my tacky glue. I do like, and the black is going to tie in with the black that I'm going to do the stamping. And that's why I thought I'd use black, because it just sort of makes your stamping look really, you know, part of the project. So we can put that on there. Make sure it's nice and straight. There we are. And then my gorgeous back topper, I've just popped it onto some red. So this is a really, really strong red. It's about a 400 GSM. I don't use it very often. It's too thick, but it was just slightly buckling a little bit from being in the die. So using this is really good. I've used red liner tape, so it really grabs it, and then it now holds nice and flat. I've put my sticks to foam tape on the back. You know, I'm passionate about this. I'm literally on the last round of that. So luckily I've got another roll's arrived, so we're all right there. So there we go. We can pop that on there. That's going on there. And then that, let me make sure I've got my card the right way up. Yes, I have. This will then just pop onto there. And I love that extra black, white, red, white. It's just lovely, isn't it, to have that crisp border all the way around. So that's ready to go. So if you wanted to, you could put a stamping block or something on there just to press it down and to hold it. But yeah, that's looking fantastic. So move that out of the way. Okay, next bit. alcohol card. That's just a scrap. It's not cut to any size. And I've got a foam mat. I've got my stamp, which I had just a minute ago. Oh, there, look, right at the side of me. And I've got a rocker block. Now, you might want to use a stamping platform. I think I'm hoping I can get it right on here. It's quite a big stamp, isn't it? It's quite large, so it's going to fit on this piece of card. And I need my Memento ink pad. Now, I'm using my Memento ink pad because it is water-based. So it's a water-based fast drying dye ink. If you wanted to, you could heat emboss this. That would look lovely, and you could do whatever colour you want. So I'm just going to go all over here. Now, the reason I want a water-based ink is because I'm going to be colouring this with an alcohol pens. If I wanted to colour it with my water-based mediums such as my aqua pens, or just my sparkle paints, or just any other water-based paint, then I would use my archival ink, which is a waterproof ink. And I actually quite like that because it's really dark black. So because I'm doing this on my rocker block, I'm just going to make sure it's covered all over. Now, I do need to stamp this multiple times, so if I do get a bad stamp, hopefully I'll have enough ready that will work. So I'm just going to pop this down onto the card, and I'm just going to rock. I'm just going to press, make sure we've got it all over. So if I'm using my rocker block, hopefully, so long as I have got enough ink on, then it should be okay. So there we go. And then we can rock it off. Oh, look at that. Absolutely perfect. Really pleased with that. So I'm going to bring back in that piece of card that we were using just a minute ago. I'm going to put it on this. Now, what you need to do, what we're going to do is we're going to do some layering, some decoupage with this. So I'm going to have a whole one. I'm going to have the rows, so that's 2. I'm going to have another layer, 3. I think I'm going to go to 4. 1, 2, yes. I want 4 in total, but I'm only going to do that. So what you can do is you can use smaller pieces of your card and just ink the bottom half of your stamp to do the rest. I'm not going to decoupage this. I'm not going to decoupage the foliage. I'm only going to decoupage this bottom rows. So yeah, just print it out 4 times if you want to. And then we're going to do some colouring. So I've got all, these are all light green. Those are duplicates. So what I'm going to do, so I've got it in my brush and my tri-blend. So I'm going to get my palette and I'm going to just go over the leaves. I'll do a couple. I would normally suggest you leave it for a few minutes to make sure it's properly dry. So if I do get any smudges, I'm sorry, it's just because I've gone straight in with colouring it. It is fairly dry on contact, but you know, the longer you leave it, the better. So that's my first colour. Then I'm going to come in with my, so that was light green 1, and in my tri-blend I've got light green 1, 3 and 5. So I'm going to come in with 3, and I'm just going to come round the edge. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at where this leaf is underneath. I'm just also going to go down that centre seam on one side. It's underneath here. Now it's under, this leaf is on the top, so this leaf is underneath, so it's going to cast a shadow, and it's going to cast a shadow just there. And this one, I'm just going to go around the edge. And then I'm going to come on the inside of that seam and then down here, because look, that flower is over the top. I'm going to come in with my darker one, light green 5, and I'm just going to do the same again, but thinner. Little twirls, little round bits, and then occasional flicks. So I want this down the centre, just there. Let's do the same on this one, a little bit up there, little bit where the flower is over the top. We're going to go down the centre, and then we're going to come up here a little bit. There. Right, back to the middle one. Let's just extend that. And around there, so it's blending it. So what you're doing is when you go to a lighter ink, it's moving the darker ink and bleaching it out. Then I want to go to my paler one. I might go to my brush again, and then just go over. Now every time you go over, you're making it a bit darker. So if you want a little bit that's going to stay paler like that, then don't colour it again. Just go over like that. So you can actually create lots more shades just by doing it. So now you can't see my pen marks, but I've got the shade, the light and dark. And we need to take that same approach with my flower. And I'm not going to do all these petals, otherwise this video would be about 3 hours long, because I did sit for probably a couple of hours. Now, I've got 2 dark red ones. Again, so my tri-blender's got dark red 1, 3 and 4, so quite dark. But my brush has got 1, 4, so it's got the lightest and the darkest, but it's got 7. I doubt if I'll go to 7. I'll be using these ones quite a bit, but it's quite nice to have the brush to lay down. And then I've got pale pink in the brush. I thought I had pale pink in... There I have. I've got it in the tri-blend as well, in case I need it. So I'm going to start with the middle one, which is pale pink 4. And I'm just going to brush down. Now, I want to give the impression that the leaves have got curve on them. So I'm going to brush down to the bottom, from the bottom, brushing up. And then I'm going to come from the top and I'm going to brush down. But I'm going to leave a gap. It isn't the finished gap, but for now I'm just going to leave a gap. And that's the bit where the light's hitting it. So the light, as the petal curves, this is the band where the light hits. So I'm then going to come in with my dark red. So dark red 1. And I'm going to come under here and I'm going to brush up. Again, not too far to begin with. We're going again and again. And then I'm going to come up. Now, one thing you do have to remember is alcohol pens lighten as they dry. As I said, I coloured this last night. When I looked at it this morning, the bits I finished, you'll see in a minute, some of them did look a lot paler than I was hoping. Right, so that's what I'm going to do with the brush. Then I'm going to come in with my pen. So, oh, that's the pink. I didn't mean that one. I meant that one. So I want 1 again, and I'm just going to brush, and I'm going to get some strokes in there now. I've laid down the most with the brush. Now with the bullet end, I'm going to lay down a few flicky lines, and it can come over. So I've just got that hint of pink underneath. Then I'm going to come in with the 3, and I'm just going to come round here where they're overlaying, where it's darkest, where it's laid over the top, just like that. I can bring up a few little flicks, and then I'm going to get 4, and I'm going to do it quite quick, and you'll probably even see I'll get little bits of a puddle of ink, which is why my cardstock's sitting on another piece of card, because it's saturating the card, which is why we use alcohol based. So what I'm doing is I'm really coming in at the bottom, and I'm making that really dark. Now this red blends so easily. If you wanted to, I could get my middle one. I could also come down here and just add in a little bit more. Now, if you remember what I said, your paler colours, because they're paler, because they've got more alcohol in them, they will bleach out your darker colours. So if I come back in with my pale pink 4 and just come over the top, it's going to bleach out some of that, but it's absolutely fine. And I'm just going to Now, the thing is, when you're doing alcohol pens, it isn't the first medium I would recommend you learn to colour with. Watercolouring is a lot easier. But the first time you do it, you'll realise that it is a case of persevering. Lots of layers, you know, going back in and adjusting it. So that pink is just underneath. And can you see now how that leaf, it looks like the light is just hitting it, and that pale pink underneath is just emphasising the light and dark of the red petal. There we go. I love that. Really, really pretty. But what you have to remember is it's going to look different when it's dry. So let's do the same on another petal. Now this is my base layer, so I don't need to colour all these. In actual fact, I don't even, in truthful, need to colour this rose, because I'm going to decoupage over the top of it. But I always like to colour at least one layer that's going to be covered, because then it means that if you do have anything 3D and then people can see underneath, it's not going to be visible. And I'll show you what I mean when we get there. So let's come in with the red. It's so much easier to focus on one sort of petal at a time, or 2 if they're really small. So we're laying down that colour. We've got the pink just poking out at the bottom. So we've laid down the base. We're then going to come in with our palest one. We're going to do some flicks, just that we've not got straight lines. Come around here, and then I'm going to come down here, just to minimise that amount of white. I don't need much, it's just where the light is catching on it. So let's come in with the darker red, really concentrating on where those petals are overlapping, because where they overlap is where it's going to be darkest. Just going to put a little bit on the edge. Now you might want the edges of your flowers to be sort of faded and worn out, so don't then go in with your darker colour. It's entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to do your colouring. And then we come round with the darker one, and then we just colour there. There we go. Now I just need to go back in with my paler pink again. I'm just going to give a hint of that just there. Just adds a bit of texture where it's bleached it out a little bit. I'm just going to go there. So it's just about how much pressure you put on. Your flicks are all subject to your pressure. But look at that. Doesn't that now look like it's curving? And we're going to go all over. Now I am going to show you one that I've done. Look at this. This is exactly the same. So I haven't bothered colouring that bit. Now this one's going to be visible. All my leaves are going to be visible. And so there. So this is how I go from here to here. But you can see how the colours have changed because this was done last night. So what I've also done is I've coloured this one here. I've gone in a little bit further to the middle, so you can see from that one we've come in, we've gone in another layer, and on this one I've just done the centre, and on this one I've done a little bit more. Now to help me when I was colouring it, what I actually did was I did a pencil mark of the petals that I didn't want. So when I did this layer, I actually put pencil marks in those ones so that I knew which layers I wanted to do. And then all you need to do with these is I'm going to get my scissors and I'm just going to trim them out. So this is why I said you don't need, can you look at this? I didn't even bother concentrating on the stamp on there. I didn't even ink it up properly. I just did, and I could have done it on a much smaller scrap of card. Then all you need to do, I'm going to cut, I'm not going to give myself a white border. I'm just going to cut on the stamping line. Just round like that. Just there. So that one's going to come out like this. But I mean, a good tip somebody once told me is put your alcohol colouring down and come back to it an hour or so later, and you can make a lot of fine adjustments then, because you can see how it's right. Look at that, it went wrong on that side. It's absolutely fine, no one's going to see that side. I didn't want to waste the card. I went in with my stamping platform. There's something, my stamping platform's playing up. It's jumping a little bit. I wonder if my magnet's not working because things are jumping. So when I'm doing a second layer, they're not, it's moved slightly. I need to have a look at it. I do have another stamping platform. I guess these things do wear out. Okay, so I've got that layer and then I've got that layer. That one I'm going to cut out with the die. So I just need to cut this one out. Okay, so I said earlier about I always go in an extra layer. What I meant was I've actually coloured all the way through to there, so I've actually done that outside layer of colouring, because when I put this on, if I put it on with shape, you can see inside. So again here I've coloured right up to there, didn't bother with there, and you know I'm going to cover up some of those, but at least it means that when I layer it up it's red underneath, and then it was just easier to do that. So that's going to go on there. So I've got my 4 layers on there. You can do as many layers as you want. So this bit I'm going to actually cut out with the die. It's a 2-layer die. Let's move that out of the way, we don't need to see that. And that one goes on there. So that means that I could have this in my, if I wanted to, let's do it that way because I've made the mucky mark on there. That goes, there it goes. Sometimes these are hard to see. I could actually cut that and have this as part of my card. So it could be a flap over my card, which looks really, really nice. Sometimes it's really good to have a two-part die. So we can put a piece of tape on there. I always try to tape on the waist so that if your tape does catch, you've not done all your colouring. Now, it's up to you. On this, I didn't even think about die cutting it before. But if you want to die cut before you colour, that's fine. Because if this die jumps and cuts in the wrong place, all my hard work and colouring is ruined. So it's entirely up to you. It really, really is. So let's run that through my die cutting machine. Normal plate. Actually, I'm not going to put my magnetic shim in because I don't want it to squish. Let's just do it that way. So 3 plate. And let's see, has that worked? Oh, yes, that's worked perfectly. So I can move my plates out of the way. When it's a basic die, you don't need all your plates. And it also, what it means is I've not put too much pressure on my cardstock. So my cardstock's not got any marks or anything like it. Now here, my die doesn't quite meet. It'll never meet perfectly in there because you always have a little gap between the ends of your dies. So what there and there, you just need to release it. That's the only downside of a 2-part die. So we've got that there. These look gorgeous, don't they? You can see there, lovely decoupage effect. So I could put this on flat, but I'm not very good with flat. So all I'm going to do is put it onto my mat. I'm going to turn it over and I'm just going to add a little bit of shape to it. Not too much, especially not on the bottom layer. There we go. Just to add a little bit of dimension. The second layer, I can go in and add a bit more. Just to break up those fibres. Yeah, that looks nice. I like that. There's something on my ball tool, I think. It's not rolling. Just go around the edges a bit more. Yes. And then the third layer. And then the fourth layer. Okay, now I could glue this together first, but I'm not going to. I'm going to glue it onto my card so that I don't squidge it all. So a couple of foam pads. So we're going to use a lot of 3D glue, but I'm also going to let the foam pads take away a lot of the hard work. So, you know, the foam pads effectively bulk it out. So, you know, just reduces the amount of 3D glue I need. So let's take the backs off those. God, they were jumping off those, weren't they? So I'm going to grab a bit. I've got 2-part syringes here. Now I want this to come sort of off my card a little bit, or off the main frame. So let's just put 3D glue over there. And then we can pop that onto here. And look at how that now hugs that sentiment. And this is why I've brought the ink right up here, so it actually comes out from behind the rose. So let's go in with here. Let's put a couple of foam pads into here again. Might give that one a trim. I like these foam pads, they feel good. There we go. Take the backs off. Not like me to try and take backs off with my fingers, is it? And then we can build it up with a bit of 3D glue, but you can see how much less 3D glue I need because of the foam pads, and we can build that on to there. And this means now, look, because I've got the red underneath, the colouring underneath, as I twist and shape it, you can still see colour underneath. Let's do this one. Put a foam pad in the middle. Just get less and less foam pads, don't you, as you get smaller. Let's put some glue. Oh, that one's empty. I thought it was low. Let's use this one that I've just unblocked. Put a bit onto there, put a bit on there. And then we can pop it on here. And then the final one, I'm not even going to bother with foam pads on this one. Let's just go with 3D glue, and then we can pop that on to there. Now look at that. Look at how that raises out. That's lovely, isn't it? Really brings that flower to the front. Absolutely gorgeous. I do like that. Do we need anything more? I'm just going to grab a couple of black gems, I think. I think we'll go with these. I like these ones. Let's take that out of the way because you won't see black on black otherwise. Move those. My camera tries to pick a focus, you see, if I have too much there. I'm going to go with the, not quite the smallest, the second one. And this is another reason for having the black layer, because it then means that everything works together. That's it. That is it. Now, part of me wants to add sparkle in here, but I can't, because remember, I've used a water-based ink so I can use my alcohol pens. If I went in with something like my Wink Stella or my sparkle pen, it's going to bleed the black ink. So yeah, it's a choice. If you want to do your alcohol pens, it's harder to go in with a bit of sparkle. There are ways, but you know, it's a bit harder. But there you go. How about that? That is absolutely gorgeous. I really, really like that. I hope you do too. And I hope you managed to get a few hints and tips from me for the colouring. So yeah, I really do enjoy it. I find it so relaxing. It really is, you know, a relaxing thing to do. If you want, you can do it on your knee in front of the TV if you want to be with a family, or you can just take yourself off to somewhere quiet, your crafty space, and do it like that. So there you go. I'm going to leave that one with you. As always, there will be a link on the left and a link to my subscribe button on the right. So please consider clicking on one of those. And as always, there will be my link to my Buy Me a Coffee page, and to anything like my ink pads, anything will be down in the description. So until next time, my crafty friends, thank you for watching. I hope you're having a lovely week and that this has made you smile as well. So until next time, my friend, you take care. Bye for now.